is our second video for our what basic for what that, and this we're gonna look at how to simply add data types and then constants to your application. Okay, so when you are using that, we have about four types of what data types. We have the number, the double, the string, and then the boolean. So let's see how we can actually define that in a real world. So let's say for numbers, uh, normally we have double and then what integer. So let's see how numbers with integers work. So for example, we can have int score, okay, and score is assigned to 53. Okay, this is how we can initialize an int what variable. We can also use the var keyword, and this var keyword is like dynamic what return type, where it will automatically know the value when it is what it is printed, when it is in the compile or runtime. So since we have assigned 53 to this, the compiler will automatically know that this variable should return an int. Good. And then we look at another way. Another int type is the hex value. So for example, hint, this is just an example, hint hex value. In the real world, it can be color and other stuff. So hint value is equal to, let's say, an example of an hex value looks like this. So something like this. Yeah, something like this. Yes, hex values. Good. So let's watch here. Okay, let me type this one. Let me use a raw hex value. D Good. So this is real hex value. Then we can have we can also have this one, double, and double is pretty much simple as well. It's just the same as this, but double normally brings out double digits as the name implies. So double here, and then here let's see how we can define that. It's simply using the keyword double and then the name of the variable. So for example, let's say percentage, and percentage is, let's say, 99%. So 99.2 is a percentage. And then let's look at another way of declaring the double. We can also use the universal var, that is var percent, and equal to maybe it is 3.1, and this will automatically be converted into double because of the number we have assigned to this variable. Okay, this is percent. Okay, percent. Then we can also have another double like this. So double, for example, let's say exponents. Exponent is equal to maybe 1.43, maybe E5 or E2 or something like that, like this. Yeah, so all these three are double, and this one, it's like a dynamic return type, but because of the value we assign to it, it's gonna come out as what? Double. Then let's look at another data type, that is a string. This is how we define strings in that string. So we simply use the keyword string, and we have to make sure we always start with a capital S, like I just did. So let's say string name, and a string name is probably equal to, let's say, equal to Carson. Okay, Carson, that is a string name. And let's look here. Another way to define a string is using the almighty var. And for example, let's say company, and this company will be equal to what? Google, like this. Okay, so this is also another type of what? Declaring strings. And then we also have what we call the true or false data type, that is called the Boolean. Okay, so to declare a Boolean, we use the keyword bool. Yeah, the Boolean is shortened, so bool, and then we will assign a bool name to it. So let's say it's valid. So this can be used in the real world. So let's say it's valid. If it is valid, then it's equal to what? True. And then we can also use the var keyword for Boolean as well. So let's say if it's alive, then it's equal to false, right? So this is really useful in the real life code. Okay, so this is false. So this is how we also declare Boolean in that. Pretty much simple, huh? Just like other programming languages we already know. So if we want to make use of this integer, we only use the print statement, and then what? We call the name of what? Of the variable. And then we can also use this. We can also use the double as well. Good. You see, this is telling us the values are not in use because we have only declared the variables, but we are not using it, since we are only demonstrating how to use data types in that. So let's say we are only making use of these two, and let's see whether it's gonna work. So we apparently used only these two, that is score, and score is 53. And then we say exponent of what? 1 point what? 1.424382. Then this is what we get. So now we know the what? The data types in what? In that. Good. Next, what are we gonna look at? We're gonna look at strings. Yes, strings and interpolation. String and string interpolation. That is pretty really simple as well. So let me leave this, or I clear this, so that let's look at how to do that. So strings and string interpolation. This is very easy. So we have the literals, and then we have different ways of string literals, right? So let's see how we can actually uh, define string literals in our that programming code, and it is pretty much simple. Good. So for string literals, let's watch here. For example, let's say literals, right? Literals, okay? So for string literals, we can have a variable like var. Using var is what? Is cool. And this will be equal to true, as we defined earlier on. And then we can have int x. X is an alphabet, right? And x can be assigned to a number just like this. You get it? And then we can also have a string literal just like this. For example, John. Yeah, just like this. And then we can have we can have just numbers like this. Yeah, then we terminate. So all these are what? Literals that we can use in what? In that. So let's look at various ways to define string literals in that. Okay, so some examples of or let me say ways to define string literals. String literals. Other ways, for example, we can use the keyword string and string with a variable name, let's say s1, and x1 can be equal to what? Example, single, this is, we mean single quote, right? Okay, single, just like this. And then we can have another one, another string literal with the same keyword starting like this. So we can also use the double quote as well, and then here will be what? Double. So we can use single quotes and then double as well. You get it? So both work with the string literals perfectly, yeah, with no errors. And then we can also define string literals like this. If we have if we really want to write like in the English format, normally we use the apostrophes. So to use, for example, if we have it and we are using a single quote, we will get an error if we don't use a forward slash. So let's say, for example, we want to write it's easy. Okay, it's easy. You see, this will not work. It's gonna give us or throw an error. You get it? So you see on line 13, can't find this. Even if we terminate this, we're not gonna get the what? The literals we have in there, or the string we have in there. So after terminating, still have the error. So we need to use the forward slash, here, like this. So if you use the forward slash, then everything will be perfect here. So number 4, S4 we can have this as well. We can have the same thing, but inside double quote you will not need the what? The backslash. So if I use forward quote here and I say it's easy, it's not passing any error. It's not passing any error on line 14. This is only giving us prompt that we are not using the variables, so this is not an error. So you see on line 14 it's not passing any error because we use double quote at the side, right? Good. So we can also write string literals like this. Let's say like a very lengthy string literal like this. Then we will have a single quote. Then we will say, let's say this is very long. Okay, then this is very long. Okay, so can we write another one beneath this? Yes, of course. We can define long strings for a particular variable just like this, and it's gonna work like this. So we're gonna terminate this at the end here. Let's say we have this very long one here, so we leave it like this. Okay, so this will work perfect, but we need to terminate it here. Okay, so this is also a long literal we can write in our code. All right, let's look at the interpolation, string interpolation, right here. So string interpolation is pretty much simple, and this is how we define a string interpolation. For example, let's say I use the string keyword and then I give it a name, string name, and maybe I assign it to, let me assign this to Daniel. Okay, and I can print this by calling the name. Let me terminate this. I can use the print keyword to print this by calling the name, and then it will display Daniel. So for example, I have a print, and for the print inside we have the double quote, and then I will say my name is. So the interpolation, I need to use the dollar sign, and then the name of the variable is what? Name. Then I terminate this, and this is gonna work fine. So I'm using the interpolation. Then I can also use another one, like maybe this can help us count. This interpolation will help us count the number of what alphabet we have here. So we can say name dot length, and this needs to be in curly brackets. Okay, like this. The dollar sign will be outside here. Okay, here, and then here, and this will work perfectly. This is the interpolation. Okay, like this. Okay, so you see how we can count, alphabets using the name.length, so to count the length of this. And then we can also do another, we can also define this in another way. Let's say int l is equal to 20, just like this. And then let's say we have another int b. Int b is equal to what? Equal to, let's say, 10, right? Good. And then we can print and then use this in a mathematical format using the interpolation we just learned. So for example, we can do print what? Okay, print. So I can say the sum of what? Of dollar sign L is, no, the sum of dollar sign this and dollar sign B is this L plus B, like this. L plus B. This should be in curly braces, okay, just like this, and this will work perfectly. So this is also a string interpolation using for what? Calculations. And let's run this and let's see what happens on the screen. Boom. So we have my name is Daniel showing here using the string interpolation, and we say this is very long, and then it has counted the words. Okay, 6. Name dot length 1 2 3 4 5 6 long. Okay, then we have the sum of 20, that is this, and the sum of 10 is 30. Okay, so you can see here, so 20 plus 10 is equal to 30, right? So you can actually see it here. So this is a string interpolation for you. Okay, let's also look at constants. Constant. We have finished with the data types, the string literals, and string interpolation. Now let's look at constants in what? Flutter. So constants are very important in our functional code. So let's look at one. The first one is how to use the final keyword. So for example, we can use this final keyword will not change in runtime. So when you use this final keyword, you should be aware of that. So for example, we say city name is equal to what? Shanghai, right? And this will not change in runtime. So if you are using this, you need to be okay with using it in your code without changes. So we use the final city name is equal to Shanghai. So you'll be using this variable, and then it will have this value, and it will be final. It will not be changed inside the what? Your code during what? Runtime. Okay. But what if we want to use just a name like this, and then we assign it to maybe something, maybe Paul, No, this would not work because this has no value. What value are you assigning to? It's undefined, and this, you see, it has an error, undefined name, because this has no return type, and then what constant are you calling? So this will not function when it comes to constant in that. So I commented it out just for you to know. Okay, so we can also use final by adding the string keyword, so that we let the code know that this final is actually returning a string. So we can also define it this way. So let's say country and country name. Okay, and country name is equal to what? Let's say Dubai. Okay, Dubai. Yeah, so we can use final and string at the same time. Yes, like return type at the same time, but we'll make sure the code knows that this is not changing during runtime. And then we also have what we call the const, that is constant, right? Similar like the final, but we use this keyword normally for special functions like pi, and then pi is constant, and pi is always 3 point what? 3.14. So we can use constant in mathematical operations and other good stuff. So we can also use the return type for constant, just like the one we use, just like we use string for final. So pretty much the same. So for example, we say gravity is equal to what? Equal to 8.2 or 8.0, just like this. Good. So because it's double, then we can use this. Pretty much it's simple. So for example, if we say we have a constant we have this constant. We can use it in a class. Maybe, for example, if we have a class like this, and then we can say a class of circle in the real world, a class of circle, and this circle will have this final and the color. The circle will have a final color of what? Color, and the color will be assigned to any color of your choice. So like, let's say red. So this is a constant and it will not change because it's final. It's final here. So assigned to that color. And we can also use something like static const or static constant. And for example, this way. So this is basically the way we define constant in that. So we look at, first we look at built-in data types, and then we look at the string and string interpolation, and we have looked at what? Constants in that. So this is how we actually define those ones. So we're gonna continue with the other advanced ones in the next video for that. So let's keep safe, subscribe, and then click the like button. See you next time. Bye.